This podcast is brought to you by lillibadcock.com and the Confidence Academy, giving you the confidence to be who you truly are. This is the Confidence Academy podcast. My name is Lilli Badcock and I am a transformational confidence coach, and I'm here with a message for you. The anxiety and overwhelm you've been experiencing is not something to be feared or avoided. It's also not something that gets to define who you are as a person. No matter who you are, no matter what your story is, I know that you get to live a life of fulfillment and joy. It's my absolute pleasure to bring this podcast series to you in collaboration with some phenomenal people from all over the world who have walked the same path as you. Together, we will share our stories, our challenges, and our triumphs, with the intention of helping you to see that it's possible for you too. Anxiety may be something you live with, but it doesn't get to define who you are or how you live your life. So stand by for some powerful conversations, deep realizations, and the occasional F-bomb. So get those headphones in if you're around sensitive ears, and stand by. This is going to be fun. Hey you guys! Does anyone know the Goonies? If you've never seen the Goonies, you're not going to know what that was. But if you've seen the Goonies, I know you will be bowled over with my impression just then of, was his name Sloth? I can't remember. Anyway, welcome! We're back for another episode. My name is Lilli Badcock, if you didn't already know. And this week is so freaking exciting because I am going to introduce you to a dear friend of mine called Gael Wood. And Gael is a Feng Shui expert and a decluttering deep dive diva. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I said that without tripping over my words. So anyway, this is a conversation that Gael and I had last year for my other podcast, which is called Waking Up to Purpose. And I just thought, why wouldn't I let you guys hear this as well? Because it was such an amazing conversation around the correlation between clutter, whether that be physical clutter in your house or a cluttered mind, and mental health, anxiety and things like that. And so I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. And as always, I would love to know your thoughts. Gael is going to be joining me later this week for TCA Live, so do get in touch in all the normal ways. Check out the show notes. But for now, I will leave you in the capable hands of Gael Wood. Hi everybody, welcome to the podcast. My name is Lilli Badcock, as you know by now, and I am so thrilled to invite my good friend Gael Wood onto the podcast today. And I'm giggling slightly because this feels like deja vu, because we actually just did this and I didn't press record. So if we sound robotic and a little bit discombobulated, it's because we're just having the same conversation again. But luckily, I only noticed after the first question. So we didn't get too far into it. But Gael, welcome to the podcast.
I'm glad to finally be here. We've been talking about this for a while.
And we're actually recording as well. Woohoo! So to everyone listening, Gael has become a friend of mine, actually. We've met online. We've never met in person, but we've worked together a bunch of times. We've been in groups together, and Gael's work has shifted even since I've known her online. And part of the reason that I wanted to bring her on the podcast was not just because she is the embodiment of someone who has been following her soul path and is falling more and more into purpose with every moment, but also the work that she is now being led to is so intrinsically rooted in energy. So Gael works with Feng Shui, and for anyone who, for anyone who doesn't know what Feng Shui is, I'm going to let Gael explain it, because I feel like I will give an explanation and Gael will be looking at me like, yeah, that's not really it. So Gael, let's kick it off again and let us know what Feng Shui is. What is your work all about? And specifically, how does it relate to anxiety and overwhelm? Because I know that lots of people listening to this podcast on their spiritual path will encounter at some point that anxiety and that overwhelm. And I know for me, clutter in my house is, number one, a sign that I'm not okay mentally, but also the clutter creates more of me not being okay. So it's like a vicious circle. So let us know what Feng Shui is, and then give us your thoughts on the energy behind that and how you can use Feng Shui to positively impact your energy to overcome overwhelm and anxiety.
Yeah, well, there's quite a few different definitions of Feng Shui. There's different theories of it, but what I've studied is classical Feng Shui. And really at its core, it's about having good energy and good qi in your home. And with that, it brings you good luck. And whether it's luck that you create yourself or, just luck from the universe, who knows? But, but having good Feng Shui brings it. And so we look at all different kinds of things in Feng Shui. Clutter is definitely one of the things that we look at. It's not really a part of classical Feng Shui because clutter is a fairly new invention. 100 years ago, people just didn't have so much stuff. And certainly not thousands of years ago, they didn't have so much stuff.
Right, yeah.
If you just look at energy flow, and clutter would definitely affect that. So we look at clutter, we look at, what are the items in our homes saying to us and saying about us. And then we also look on an energetic level, we can do a reading of the home, find energy imbalances and rebalance those that may have been there, since the home was built. And just like, we have an effect on our home and our environment can also have an effect on us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I made the joke before we were actually recording, so I'll repeat it because it was a very funny joke. It's actually not a joke at all, but I was just going to say that anyone who knows me will know that I'm the queen of clutter. And I mean, if you've ever come for a session at my house, you'll have walked through the array of clutter that's in my garage. It's like a little shrine of clutter that people have to pass through before they get to the room at the other side. And I can really see how it would affect not just the energy, because obviously in a very simplistic term, I suppose the idea of clutter and the physical presence of clutter would obviously get in the way if energy was trying to flow around, around the room or out of windows or whatever. Clutter would affect that, but also mentally just seeing the clutter. I know for me, when I am looking around my house, and I know obviously I worked with you earlier this year, I took your Feng Shui challenge, your decluttering challenge, and I can remember saying to you that I just hated my house. Like I would come home and I just hate being here. And the funny thing is, I would quite often tell myself I have to move house because I don't like the house that I've got. And so I made this idea in my head that before I could be happy, I'd have to have a bigger house, a better house, more space. And what you showed me through your challenge that I did was actually, it's okay to want another house. I still think we need another house. We keep having kids. So that's the thing. However, you've allowed me to repurpose a lot of the space in my house so that now I don't have such a heavy feeling of, oh, I hate being here. There are still pockets of clutter. I haven't finished doing it, but where we're recording from right now is my office at home. And prior to that, my office used to be outside in my studio, which was essentially the garage. So it would be cold in the winter, muggy in the summer, always dark because the room that I used for the office only had a tiny window. So I never felt inspired to go out there and work. I never wanted to. And so that led to me trying to work in the house, just anywhere I could find. And then, of course, I've got kids climbing all over me. I can remember when the boys were small, getting so angry because they kept pulling the lead out of my laptop. And because my laptop is a relic, it needs the lead plugged in or it dies. And I can remember barking at them because I was trying to work. And then I felt like a terrible mum because I barked at my kids. So it really didn't allow me to separate those elements of my life. And all of that came from just clutter that had built up over the years. And in this house, certainly, when I moved into this house, it was with my friends. We all bought it together. It was like the Big Brother house. Everyone I know has lived here at one time or another. I'm surprised you haven't lived here at some point because everyone I know at some point has a story about when they lived in, we call it the House of Love, because it housed so many people. But what that meant was, when everybody moved out and it became my family home, it never had that identity.
Yeah.
And doing the work that I did with you to declutter really allowed me to repurpose some of the rooms that had just become dumping grounds. And so this belief I had that there was no space in my house for a start, that wasn't actually true. There was space. It was just taken up with a whole bunch of crap that every time I saw it drained my energy, made me feel bad about myself. Then it made me wish I had a bigger house. That reminded me I couldn't afford a bigger house. And then I'd be in that spiral for, it would really impact it. So I feel like it's really, really important work that you do. And it's really, really, really relevant to the conversation that we're having here as well. Like I say, twofold, because, I think decluttering is something you've possibly always been passionate about, but it wasn't always your main focus of business. So tell us about your journey to doing this work and what that looked like for you. Because I would say, I don't know if you agree, but I would say now in this work, you've really found something you're passionate about. It really lights you up. Yeah. I know you're so excited to do it, but just tell us about the journey there. Because I think when people embark on their mission for purpose, I think they just think that it's just going to be this wonderful journey of discovery, and then they're going to have this purpose at the end. And it just doesn't really feel like that a lot of the time. So tell us what it was like.
I think I want to touch on something that you said earlier, though. I think one thing to really look at with clutter is, what is your clutter telling you about yourself? Because our clutter is sitting there and it's telling us, like you said, like, oh, I don't make enough money. Or, if you have clothes that don't fit, then every time you look in your closet, your clutter is going to be like, oh, well, you're fat. Or if you have books you don't read, your clutter is going to be like, oh, well, you're lazy. You don't read all these books. So,
yeah.
So we bring things into our life with these really great intentions sometimes about like who we think that we want to be or who we think we should be. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've bought like, oh, I'm going to start painting, and I buy all this stuff to start painting. And I'm not a painter. I just feel like something is like, well, you should have an artistic outlet, because people should be artistic, in order to be creative or whatever it is. And then you have this stuff that you just don't use because it's not really you.
Yeah.
So it's like we're going around getting all of this stuff, trying to be better or more or different, when we can really just pare it down to just being ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. So true. So true.
So my journey, I'm still journeying.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. By the way, anyone listening, if you think you're going to get there at some point and be done, you're not. It just doesn't work like that.
That's my purpose. And I'm like, oh no, wait, what about this other thing?
Oh, I found my purpose. Wait, what do you mean it's hard? What do you mean I'm going to second guess every step I take? For God's sake. Oh no, so true. But your journey currently then, where you're at in your journey, how did you go from, because before this you were doing, it was still large. Well, your business had two elements, didn't it? You were online and you also have a physical element as well. But it was in the massage business and massage therapy and all of that kind of thing. So tell us how you went from that to Feng Shui, and was it an easy leap for you? Or, and I know the answer, but for the purpose of the people listening, was it an easy leap for you? Or, what did it look like? Just give us some idea of what that journey looked like for you.
What it looked like and is looking like is, I was a massage therapist for 20 years, which I absolutely love. But the whole time, I'm always reading books about Feng Shui. I've just always had a bit of a fascination with it. And so I wanted to get out of doing the hands-on massage work. I also love marketing and business. So I started teaching marketing business for massage therapists. I built up a business doing that, and it's been quite successful. It still is. But I just had this little niggling feeling like, okay, something's missing. I want to do more than just talk about marketing and business for massage therapists. Like, what do I want to do for the next 20 years? Yeah. Not, even though I like it, it's not what I want to do forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so during all of this, building up my business, I was having just different areas that I felt like, okay, well, I'm rocking this area of my life, but this other area of my life kind of sucks. Like my relationships. My daughter was a teenager and going through a lot of that stuff. And then that was because I was having problems with my husband. And I'm like, why can't I just have it all?
Yeah.
Great relationships. I want to make great money. I want to, do stuff that I love to do all day. Like I really want to have all of the things.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like there's anything that says, well, you can't. Something's got to give.
Mm.
So I got the opportunity to work with a classical Feng Shui practitioner, and she helped me do the Feng Shui on my house and do a Feng Shui chart, get all my remedies in. And I was just really intrigued about how different it was than what I had read in books.
Mm.
It was a lot more to it. I had so many energy shifts with that.
Yeah.
Things just like 6 months after I did Feng Shui on that house, I was living in another town, living in my dream house. My relationships were on the mend. My daughter was moving back to go to college here in this town where we were moving to. Like things just like seemed to just fall into place. And so it's really hard to say. It's like, okay, well, what exactly worked?
Yeah.
Was it my intention that everything's going to fall into place? Was it part of that was doing a thorough decluttering of everything that I didn't feel like was something I needed in my life moving forward.
Mm.
Was it the Feng Shui remedies that we put in?
Mm.
I believe it's all of it. I believe that it all just
totally
works together.
Yeah.
So,
it's the energy, isn't it? It's the energy of intention is powerful, but the energy of doing is also powerful. And then you've got the thing itself, which works because it just does. And I think you're right. I think it is a bit of everything. And I know from my personal experience, and I haven't done a lot of Feng Shui apart from what I've done with you, but I've done a lot of energy work on myself. And it kind of is that thing in hindsight. Then you look back and you go, oh, if someone was going to ask me, how did you get from here to here? Could I actually nail it down to points? And I think you can't always, but I think there's a lot of power, like I said, in intention. There's also power in purpose, though. There's real power in listening to your gut and to what you're being guided to. And obviously you said that you'd always been reading about Feng Shui, so you've always been drawn to it. And like, this is what I tell people all of the time when it comes to your purpose. It actually isn't something to go and find. It's who you already are. It's what you're already led to. It's just that we make all these rules in our head. And, you just said, is there anything that says I can't have it all? And like, there isn't really, apart from a whole bunch of people who have just decided that for some reason you shouldn't have it all or you can't have it all. And I think more and more people are starting to look at that and go, but why though? Like, why shouldn't I feel successful in every area? Why have I got to choose one over the other? But it's such a common belief. People even keep themselves blocked around money because they worry that if they get the money, then they won't have the relationships, or they block the relationships because they've got great health. And they think if they, someone said this to me once and I loved it. They said, it was around, I think it was a money situation. I think they were saying, the conversation around having more money or calling more money in. And they said a common fear with that is if you get more money, that somehow that makes you a bad person and that somehow somebody else goes without. But they said if you put that where health's concerned, it's like saying, oh, I haven't had a cold recently, I'd probably better get one because then someone else can not have a cold. It's just silly. Like, we get colds and then we get rid of them and that's it. But me having a cold or not having a cold doesn't mean you will or won't get one. But this is what we tell ourselves with these things. And with happiness, we kind of think it's almost become a thing of, oh, well, I shouldn't succeed because not everyone else gets to succeed. So who am I to do it? But actually, the more of us that allow ourselves to really go for these dreams, to really allow ourselves to go after these things we're led to, the more people that do that, the more people will realize it's available for them as well. And actually, it can only be a good thing in my mind.
Mm-hmm. And that's something else that Feng Shui does, is because we look at all these different areas of life and you're saying, oh, well, this is my creativity area. And then it really gets you to think, you know, okay, well, what's important to me with creativity? What do I want to create? You know, we look at our love and relationship area of our house, and then you can really start thinking about, okay, well, specifically, you know, how do I want my relationships to look? You know, what kind of, because you're going to pick some photos or things to put in that area. So you think, well, what kind of things do I want to do with my husband?
Yeah.
It would be fun for us to do together. And then, you know, then you start manifesting those things because you've had the thought, which always comes first. You have to have the thought.
Yeah.
And I think something we do a lot is we look around and, you know, we see all these people and all the things they have, and it's just kind of like, oh, well, that might be cool to have that, or that might be cool to have that. But we don't really get specific on what we want.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point, because the thing is, you will be the most successful manifesting what you truly want, first and foremost, from an energetic place. And also, you're being led to those things for a reason. It's what makes you you. This all comes back to really honoring who you are and what you want. And you've made such a good point, because for the longest time, I was going after results because I'd seen other people have those results. So I thought, oh, well, that's the thing to have. Like, okay, that looks cool. Laptop lifestyle, you know, working from the beach. Sure. Like, who wouldn't want that? And then I wasn't calling it in. And it was only when I stopped and thought about it that I was like, well, you know, actually, for me to live my life from the beach would be highly stressful because I've got 3 small children. So, who wants that on the beach when you're trying to write an email? Like, it just, like, it's utter carnage. But, you know, I had just seen so many images of like these very slim, beautiful women on the beach with their laptops. So I was like, that's what I want. But what I realized after a while was actually that wasn't what I wanted. It just represented something deeper that I desired, which was really just the freedom to live my life the way that I choose to. But you're so right. And I think so often we are trying to call in things that we think we should have or things that we think we should want. It's like you and your painting kit, you know? It's like, oh, you know, people are creative. I'll be creative then. I'll have that thing. And, you know.
Because you admire that. And you're like, I admire beautiful paintings. That doesn't mean I'm supposed to make them.
Yeah. And I think that all comes back to self-worth. That all comes back to how much do you honor who you are, and how much do you know that who you are is a good person and is good enough and worthy. Because I know for me, you know, you were talking earlier about the fact clutter talks to you. My clutter's horrible to me. My clutter tells me that I'll never make anything of my life, that I can't make money, that I'm unorganized, and then I'm a bad mum, and, you know, it could go on and on and on and on. That's what my clutter was telling me. And until we learn to challenge these thoughts and beliefs that we're having that don't feel good, we will be stuck in that cycle. And, you know, for me, I never felt like I wanted to clear the clutter. I didn't have the physical energy to clear it because I couldn't make that connection. Does that make sense? And it was only when, obviously, we started working together, and then you told me that you had this thing coming up, and I was like, in all honesty, I thought I'll do that because that's supporting Gael. Like, I'll support Gael with her venture. And then I went ahead and did it and was like, oh, actually, this feels really good. And it was really strange how it really did shift, not just the energy, but my perception of my home, my perception of me, my perception of what I'm capable of. Like, I was telling myself constantly that I'm just a messy person, so I'll always live in a messy house, not helped by the fact that my husband backs up that statement on a regular basis. He's like, you're such a messy cow. And I'm like, now I'm at the point where you know, I'm like, actually, I'm not. I don't like it. I don't like clutter. I don't like the feeling of it. It was really just a situation I felt that I couldn't control. I felt like I couldn't break the cycle. And seeing it from the perspective that Feng Shui brings it and that you brought it to me meant that, you know, I just can't get behind clearing clutter because it's a nice thing to do. I'm just never going to be one of these people that gets excited to clear up a room because it's messy. I'm just not. But that was making me feel like, therefore, I'm a bad person and a bad mum and a bad wife. But actually, no, I'm just not. I will never be one of these people that gets excited by that. However, I am someone that gets excited by energy. I can get behind that. And I can get behind supporting other people, which is what led me into this anyway. And I think, you know, really, it's about making it what works for you. It's not about trying to be anyone that you're not. It's not, you know, I'm not going to be Mrs. Hinch anytime soon. I don't know if you know who Mrs. Hinch is, but I think she's from the UK. She's on Instagram. She's this mum of a young kid. Her entire house is grey and her entire house is immaculate. And I mean, she's brilliant. She actually is brilliant because through what she shares on Instagram, lots of people follow her example and it's affected their mental health in a positive way as a result of that. But Mrs. Hinch is someone who just absolutely loves to do it. And that's not me. I'm not going to be that, but that doesn't mean I can't have a lovely home.
And, you know, it's not me either. Like, I like to be, you know, generally decluttered. I declutter my house like twice a year. But, you know, I don't have this high standard of the counters always being clear of everything and wiped down and perfect. You know, I mean, I enjoy having a nice home, but, you know, I don't let it tell me that story that something wrong with me if it gets messy.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, if my home gets messy, it's like there's something wrong with people who aren't helping me.
Exactly. It's these other people in the house. That's the issue. I mean, it's true. You've only got to watch my kids for 10 minutes. If I sit down for 10 minutes and just watch them, you just see them. They're like little mini terrorists running around the house, just messing everything up. So like, but even that was a good point because for the longest time, you know, like I have Sophia now, who's 2. The boys are older, they're 7 and 8. But when they were 2 and 3, I spent years of their early life just feeling like I was this huge failure. Like, I just felt like, oh my God, I'm failing miserably at being a mum. Like, why can't I keep the house clean? It's only since I've had Sophia and since then have done all this mindset work and I know better than to listen to the crappy voices that tell me I'm rubbish. You've only got to watch her for 10 minutes and it's like, that's why. It's her. It's not you at all. It's this little one. And like back then I had two of them at it.
And what's great about having less stuff in your house is like they can only make it so messy. If they only, you know, 100 toys, there can only ever be 100 toys out. There can't be 300 toys out or 400 toys out.
So true. So true.
Oh, and that's to me the best thing about decluttering. It's like it does keep things so much more manageable. And then you just feel like, okay, I got this. I can do this.
Yeah. What would you say to someone? I'm going to just assume that people listening are maybe like me and easily overwhelmed. And I don't like to say this, but I am going to say it because I do see some truth in it. So I was diagnosed with anxiety. So it's actually a diagnosis I have. And I have to remind myself of this because of the work that I do and because I'm so often talking about how you can overcome it and how you can be okay in spite of it. And I do believe that's true. I do have to remember sometimes that I have a diagnosis. There is something in my brain that is off that creates this anxious persona. And part of my anxiety that I forget about all the time is I'm easily overwhelmed. So for me, I mean, even if you could see this pile that's next to me, I mean, I could show you, but obviously people listening are on an audio, but let me just explain it. So it's just a bag of, I don't even know what, with a few clothes on top, right? To me, at first glance, it's horrendous and it's overwhelming. And then I will think to myself, I can't cope with that. I can't deal with it because it's too hard. So what would you say to someone listening who's maybe like that, who gets easily, like I can easily get into overwhelm, even with it going, oh, should I, you know, I have half an hour, should I clear my kitchen or clear my lounge? I'll then spend half an hour worrying about what's the right thing to do, and then half an hour's gone and the moment's passed and then nothing gets done, and then on we go. So what would you say to people that are easily overwhelmed? How can they make a start?
I mean, there's several different things to look at. So like if you're choosing between, oh gosh, I've got, 6 rooms to declutter and they're all terrible, where do I start? I would just really think, if I had one room done, which room would I feel the best about having done? And then just start there. If you're like, it might be your living room because you want it to look good when people come over. That might be higher on your priority list or your values. So it kind of comes back to your personal values, Or it might be like, oh, well, my kids' playroom I want them to be able to enjoy their playroom and have a good time. So that might be on the top of your list. So I would just kind of do a check-in and be like, okay, to me, it's like the kitchen's always going to be messy.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be on the top of my list.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I was
like fighting a losing battle.
I'm like, well, having a clean kitchen, that'll last 5 minutes. That's not going to be my 1 to 2, or it could be like, oh, well, when I go to bed at night, if the last thing I see is a nice, clean area, that'll make me feel really good. And it'll be the first thing I see when I wake up.
Yeah.
So it would just kind of be like, what is stressing you out the most? And what would give you the most, I guess, bang for your buck if you got it done?
Totally. Yeah, totally. Because it's an energetic shift. It really is. Whether you believe in energy or not, it doesn't matter if you believe in it. If you just do it, you'll see for yourself. It does spur you on. Now, for me, it was my bedroom, because I was going to bed at night and I'd have to pick over toys and clothes, and then I'd have to cram between the cot and the bed and just kind of get myself in bed. And then once I'm in there, all the sheets are scuffed up. I've got Sophia just starfishing in the middle. So then I'm clinging for dear life to the side of the bed, and then my face is pressed against the cot. And honestly, stressful. And then I'd look in my wardrobe where there were no clothes hanging because they were all on the floor in this room that I'm sat in now, and it would just spiral. So for me, it was about getting the bedroom sorted, and it took a really simple step. So I've mentioned I get into overwhelm. So for me, cycles are a really big part of my life. I get into cycles, and I can shift out of being in a bad cycle and make it into a good one. And so for me, the bad cycle was I could never keep my clothes tidy because I didn't have anywhere to put my clothes. I just didn't. There just wasn't the space. I didn't have any drawers because again, because we had all the kids, so they had all the drawers. So I had nowhere to put my things. So the clutter actually in the room that I'm in now actually wasn't because I'm a messy person or a terrible person. First and foremost, it was just because there was nowhere to put stuff. Yeah. So it actually took a really simple shift. And one of my friends was selling off a nice chest of drawers that was large. So I was like, yeah, we'll have it. We went and picked it up. I managed to change my room around, got the cot out. So she's out, except she's not because she keeps coming in anyway, but the cot's out at least. And I moved the bed up and I put the chest of drawers in, and it transformed that bedroom. And now my clothes have a home. And it's not just about the fact that they're no longer on the floor. It's like I'm deserving and worthy of at least a drawer to put my clothes in, right? But that was the state I'd got into. It was like, I think it's mum syndrome. Everything for your kids first and you come second. And all right, it might be noble, but it's a bunch of horse shit, because it's going to make you feel like crap. And if you feel like crap, that's going to filter down to everyone else in your family anyway. So buy yourself a damn drawer if that's what you need, or like a wardrobe. And that's all it took. And then because I did that, I then felt like I could tackle the horrible room, because actually it was easy. I threw out most of what was in here because I didn't wear it anymore. And I folded everything else into my drawers. And I love my room now. I could go in there right now and it's clean and it's tidy. And my wardrobe is hanging up and my bed is neat. I've even started making my bed every day. And that's because I desire to. Like, that's the shift, isn't it? That's absolutely the shift.
And so that just started with you just saying, you know what, I'm worth it, and I'm gonna do my room. Now, if you hadn't decided that and your friend had that dresser for sale, it probably wouldn't have even popped onto your radar.
Yeah.
You would just scroll by it. Oh, so she's got a dresser for sale. But you had put that intention out there that you're going to fix up your room, and then the parts and pieces started to fall into place.
That's it. Yeah, exactly that. And I think it all feeds into each other. I think at some point I just decided I was worth more. And at some point I decided I could start. And I tell you what, I have a little mantra for myself now. You're going to laugh because it sounds dramatic, but I am dramatic. So it is what it is. But I know, like, even this pile of clutter I'm looking at right now, I will look at that and my default setting is to go, oh my God, it's hideous. I can't do it. It's too overwhelming. It's too hard.
Yeah.
I have to look at it again and I tell myself, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Even when it's pretty bad, I will look at it and I'm like, it's not as bad as you're telling yourself it is. Yeah. Really, you know, it's like I can have a basket of clothes out of the dryer. This is another thing I'm a bit of a tinker for. I'll wash clothes happily and I'll dry them in the dryer, but then they get stuffed in a basket. And then for some reason, it's really hard for me to just take them out of the basket and put them away.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It looks horrendous when it's in the basket, but actually it's not that bad. It's a small basket. You tip it out, you sort it, you can do it totally. I mean, I did start to teach the boys how to do it, which is even better. But this mantra of it's not that bad. So if you're someone that easily gets overwhelmed like I do, if you're telling yourself it's really bad, that's just going to lead to you putting it off and feeling like you can't do it. So you just tell yourself, it's not that bad. It's doable. Or another thing I love to do, and I saw this on someone's blog. I think it might have been the Organised Mum Method. And she said, this was like a boot camp for your whole house. This was more about cleaning. But she said, just set a timer. Set a timer for 10 minutes or 30 minutes. Decide, focus, like you said, focus where you're going to do it. And just do something. Like if you do that every day for 10 minutes, by the end of the week, it's going to look better than it did a week ago, right?
Knock, knock, it's me. I just wanted to interrupt this episode briefly to let you know about an amazing gift I've created for you called the Mindset Reset Workshop. This is an hour-long workshop where I share all of my best tips and tricks for cultivating a strong mindset so that no matter what life throws at you, you can move forward with confidence and purpose. We have one life, and I'm absolutely certain that we're not supposed to spend it battling anxiety, fear, and frustration. I've learned how to let go of those things, and now I want to help you do the same. So grab your free copy by clicking the link in the show notes below. And for now, I'll let you get back to the episode.
Yes, and you can do 10 minutes. I'm just going to go in there, I'm going to get 10 things out of there. So
yeah.
You can, 10 things a day. Another one I like to do is just do like the easiest layer.
Yes.
You absolutely know this is out, because you start getting into the things where you're like, oh well, I do like it, but it doesn't really fit. Then you get this cycle of overthinking things. But if you just go, okay, I'm just going to do the easy items that are like yes or no, and just sort that, and then you'll get that momentum going.
Yeah.
And usually by the time I've done part of a room, I'm like, might as well just finish the room I'm in here.
Totally. And it is that mindset though, because actually the biggest thing that holds you back, and this is the case in anything really, whether it's clearing a cluttered room or whatever, your biggest thing holding you back is your mindset, but your greatest power is also your mindset. So by using that suggestion of, okay, the room looks overwhelming and it's probably going to take hours, but if you use Gail's suggestion of let's just go in and get 10 things out, and you do that on a regular basis, you start to shift your belief that you can't do it because you're doing it. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing it, no matter how much your brain will try, it cannot convince you that you're not if you are. Does that make sense? Because you're doing it. And then, like you say, 10 things turns into, well, maybe I could just do 20 things. Maybe I could do 20 minutes. Maybe I could do an hour. Maybe I could dedicate half a day to this. And, you just start to find your flow with it. And the difference it's made, I don't love my house. I still don't love it, but I don't feel at the mercy of it anymore. Yeah. And I can see the potential. And I also recognized that I wasn't going to manifest the better house until I learned to love the one I'm in anyway, because the whole point is living in the moment of now. If you're in the habit of always feeling like what you have isn't good enough, or that what you have isn't, isn't going to match up, then you'll always feel that way. You could get into the biggest mansion going and you'll still feel like it's not enough. So it's shifting that perception. And so now I'm onto the garden. I'm now planning to paint my fence, and I'm going to get astroturf in the garden to make it pretty, because the garden is horrendous. And I'm not a gardener. I kill everything. So astroturf it is. Well, I might have a beach. Gail has a whole beach in her front garden, you guys.
In my front yard. So I have wanted a beach house for 10 years. I just say over and over again, I just want a beach house. I just want a house at the beach. So this is something that I love to work with, is the qualities of what you want.
Right.
So I just one day I sat down and I'm like, okay, well, I want this beach house, but why do I want this beach house? And I thought, well, I hate being cold. I want to be able to be warm. And then I manifested a sauna. And then I was like, well, I like to sit out in the sun. I like to have a sunny place to sit. I like to, when we're at the beach, it seems like we can walk to go get our dinner and sit outside and enjoy a meal. Like, I liked all of those aspects of going to the beach. Well, the new house is right in town. We can walk to restaurants when they're open. So I'm warm, I can walk to restaurants. And then for Mother's Day, my husband, we have a really nice sunny front yard.
Yeah.
I have my water feature for my Feng Shui out there. And we were sitting out there a few weeks ago, just put some chairs out there and we're just sitting in the sun. And my husband said, if you didn't know any better, if you close your eyes, you really feel like you're at the beach.
Yeah.
Just sitting out there at the sun and the sound of the water. And so for Mother's Day, he said, I'm going to make this into a beach.
Amazing. I love it.
The little beach colored pebbles. And we would put our grill out there and we'd grill out. My son will jump in the water fountain. I'm like, it has so many aspects and qualities of the beach house that I wanted. Yeah. That I'm almost like, I don't even really need the beach house anymore, because I've got everything that I thought the beach house would give me right here. Yeah. So.
I love that. I love it. It's so true. I want a beach in my front garden. My front garden, so both of my gardens are shameful. It's definitely the next step. But it's so true, because we tell ourselves that we can't have it yet. There's always this feeling of, I want the bigger house, or the better car, or the better relationship, or the better job, or whatever. And then we tell ourselves that until we have that, we can't be happy now. And I love what you've just said, because it's, you might not be able to physically have it, but the chances are the physical manifestation of that thing is probably not going to bring you everything you wanted anyway, because it's the elements of it that matter, and it's the perception that really matters. And why shouldn't you be happy now, even on your way to getting, you still might get a beach house, but at least now, until you get one, you've got the next best thing. You've got all those elements that you love. You've made that happen. And I think, when we stop telling ourselves that we're so hard done by and that we can't do it, yada, yada, whatever we're telling ourselves, it's really amazing what we can create for ourselves with what we have here and now.
Yeah. And just being creative with it.
Yeah.
So you can take anything that you want, or that you think you want, and break down the qualities.
Yeah.
And then you can always I feel like you can always bring at least some of the qualities in to your current reality.
100%. I don't think we're ever as far away as we think we are, actually. And it's a little bit like, I
was going to say, if you're like, I want to live in a beautiful, gorgeous house that's clean all the time. I mean, you could start with just having one countertop that you keep clean all the time.
Yeah, right. Just go to that corner of the house.
If you ever feel like you could just sit there and be like, it's clean.
Exactly, yeah. Tunnel vision it. Just tunnel vision it.
And then I feel like one thing would lead to the next. Then thered be a second area that would be clean.
Exactly that. And I think you could even apply the same mantra that I apply to my clutter and to things that are overwhelming, that it's not that hard. Like, trying to go from the house you're in to a mansion, for example, that's going to feel impossible, right? So therefore you just tell yourself that you're so far away, you're never going to have it. That's not going to encourage feelings of being energized and uplifted. That's going to take you down the other path. So instead, it's about, how can I create these feelings now? Like, what is it about that mansion that would feel so great? If it's space, then is there a room in your house that you could completely declutter where it does feel very spacious, you know? Or like for me, I ran a retreat last year in the most amazing house. It's actually my house. It feels like mine. Like, you know, I've stayed there twice now. And I think the lady thought I was weird because I turned up for the viewing that I didn't even need because I'd already been there. And I was like, I just feel like this is my house. And she was like, okay then. But you know, the thing I loved about it really was, the thing I loved the most was the space, and it was light, and they had all these beautiful flowers that weren't even real, but they looked real. And then they had these little pots of incense, like you know, those reed diffusers that you get around the house, so it smelled amazing. And then they had speakers in the ceiling with music playing, and that's what I really loved. I mean, okay, the indoor cinema and the hot tub was also a very high selling point, but I can get flowers in my house, I can get reed diffusers in my house, I can put little speakers around in my house, and I can create the same atmosphere that made it feel so amazing. And you know, I bought a paddling pool, which is almost like a hot tub, it's just not hot. It's ruddy freezing actually. Oh, I love it. So Gail, if people want to get started on this, because I think, you know, even if you've not considered it, and even you might not be a very messy person, you can still have a house that can be feng shuied. Is that a saying? Can you say that? Like, you know, it doesn't mean that even if you're not a messy person, it's still possible that you have energy blocks in your home right now, or ways that you've set things up that are stopping you from calling in what you want in whatever area of your life. Yeah. So Gail, if people want to work with you, if they want to find out more about your work and what you do, how's the best way for them to get hold of you?
Yep, just come to my website, which is Feng Shui Elevation. And there's a couple different free gifts you can sign up for. I've got my Dream Life Design program, where I get even more into like all of this talk, thinking about the qualities that you want to call into your life and those sorts of things. I've got a free decluttering planner, some courses that you can buy, my Decluttering Deep Dive course, which is a full house declutter, but we go into the mindset of it, that doing affirmations. So I was like, it's a little more than just the decluttering.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a lot more. But on there also, I've got a whole digital decluttering course. So that's a whole other area that we can really, especially as entrepreneurs, can.
Jeez Louise, I need that.
Bog down in. And then I have a new program called Elevate, because I just couldn't really stop teaching business. I made a container where I can, I'm like, this is my purpose. I made this container, this program where I can put all my things.
Yeah, perfect.
So yeah, it's got feng shui, decluttering, business. It's kind of just like all my things.
But that's what it looks like to be on purpose, by the way, you guys. I say this to people all the time. Whenever people sign up for free calls with me, one of the things most people say, I would say 9 out of 10 people say that they are feeling overwhelmed because they kind of have an idea of what their purpose is, but they are torn in so many different directions. They have all these different things and they're like, how can I bring it all together? And I say to them, you are the thing, like you're the thing that brings that together. So when you understand that, and when you understand that your purpose is who you are, then you can embrace all of those areas. And like Gail just said, then you set up a container, a website or whatever that embraces every part of you. There is no compromise. You don't have to choose one over the other. You can literally just be like, oh, okay, well, this month I'm talking about business related stuff, and next month it might be clutter. And you know, I always say that you are a soul with a purpose, that you've landed in a human that has multiple ways to bring that purpose to life. And so that's just like the perfect thing to finish on, I think, because, you know, if you go to Gael's website, you'll see that in action. So definitely go. We'll put the link in the show notes. You can click on that, sign up for the freebies, have a look around and see what else is on there. And obviously reach out to Gael with any questions that you may have as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you for coming on, Gael. It was so fun. And to everyone listening, I want to know what you're going to action as a result of listening to this episode. So are you a clutter bunny like me? Is clutter bunny a thing? That just came out of my mouth. I love it. If you're a clutter bunny like me, I think I was thinking along the lines of fluff bunnies. But yeah, if you're a clutter bunny like me, has this inspired you to go and tackle it? Have you decided that you're going to look at the energy in your home? Is there something, like maybe it's your workspace or your creative space, as Gael said? Let us know what action you're going to be taking. Get in touch and let us know. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast if you haven't done so already. And I'll be back again very soon with another interview. Gael, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go, guys, all wrapped up for another episode. We're just breezing through them at this point, smashing them out week on week. Thank you so much for listening. As always, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to join the Facebook group. If you're on Facebook and if you want to come and hang out with us all week long, you can do that by joining the Facebook group. Click the link in the show notes in all the usual ways. And of course, we've also included the links that we discussed in the podcast episode. Also, Gael will be joining me this coming Thursday, 8 p.m. GMT, as always, each week for TCA Live. And this week, Gael is my guest, and we will be diving even deeper into this conversation around decluttering our houses, decluttering our minds, just decluttering anything that gets in the way, to be honest. So I hope that you'll join me then. I would love to know your questions and your comments, so do get in touch to let me know that. And I will be back again next week with another amazing episode and another phenomenal guest. Look after yourselves, take care, and I will be back again soon. Bye.